Ladies and gentlemen, you are now entering the Decent Christian Talk podcast. Enjoy.
Decent Christian Talk episode number 97.
97.
What's up? I'm Gabe Jones.
I am Josiah.
This is a show by the fans.
And for the fans.
And we got a great show for you today. Right off their hot release, we have War of Ages on the show today.
And this is one, I actually had a little bit of a heads up for once. For once, we were doing the episode on for the week. Normally we sit down and I say, who is it? And there we go. But now you gave me a heads up, and I've been listening to their album. And it's pretty good.
And their new album is called Void. It just came out literally a week or two ago, September 13th.
Yeah.
So it's hot off the presses. Go listen to it. We've got the War of Ages on the show today. Before we head into that, we're going to talk about our Patreon page. We got to talk about our Patreon page, patreon.com/Decent Christian Talk. For as low as $1 a month, you can help sponsor our show. And that helps keeps the lights on. It helps keep the show going. And we just like to thank those that have already helped, like Maria and Michael and Hunter and Jody. You guys are awesome. And we would also, Lorena as well, we would love to have you on. And as a part of our team, you get bonus episodes for $5 a month. Today we're talking about one of my favorite albums of all time, The End Is Not the End by House of Heroes.
The most underrated band in the history of music.
Yes, and we will also be giving our picks for Album of the Week and maybe even a Rant of the Week. Hey, and check out after the interview today, we're going to be giving a full, fun countdown of our top 12 Relient K songs.
This is the hardest thing that I've ever had to do in my entire life.
If you have not heard, Relient K is doing a vinyl where fans can go online. I think it's RelientK.com/vote or something like that. And you can vote for your favorite Relient K songs, and the top 12 will make it onto this vinyl. So that's exciting, and we're going to be giving our picks for the top 12 after the interview. But speaking of the interview,
yes,
I'm so excited about this because War of Ages has been on the show before, and the last time we had them on, as soon as I hit record, we were right in front of a stage, and the sound check started, and that's about all you hear in the interview.
I think that feels like that happens.
It does happen a lot with us. That didn't happen today.
Yes.
So I am excited that we got a take two all these years later and finally did a decent interview with Leroy, who doesn't live too far from us in Erie, Pennsylvania. But without further ado, here is our interview with War of Ages.
All right, hit that horn, babe. Let's dance. Separated from
We've got a new album out. It's called Void, and
yes, sir.
It's a lot of people have been waiting a long time for this. Well, not a long time. It's only been about 2 years, but in the music world, that's a long time. What's been the last few years like for you that has kind of contributed to how this album has sounded lyrically and musically? And we can eventually dive into a couple songs. But overall, what has the last few years been like for you that's resulted in this project?
Well, I mean, just the different talent in the band in general has changed a little bit. We have a lot more writers in the band musically. And so this album, the last few albums, I would say from about Supreme Chaos, I had my hand in the musical aspect a little bit. Alpha, I withdrew a lot of the musical aspect of writing for me. I contributed here and there, but not very much. And then this was the first album, Void, where like I wasn't even present when they wrote the song. You know, in regards to musically. I wrote all the lyrics, which is my favorite part. It's the thing I like to do. I like writing the music too, but in regard I guess overall musical ability, I can play, but not as well as them. You know, especially within the genre that we are playing. You know, I prefer to stick to lyrics, and I really like to write melodies for like the clean singing and stuff. Like that's the stuff I've always enjoyed, but I've had to give so much focus in the other areas to just help contribute that I haven't. My lyrical aspect I feel has lacked. Up until the last like at least 2 albums, where I'm not saying that I wrote bad lyrics. I just couldn't give them the focus and the amount of time that I wanted to, because I was busy writing everything else, you know. And by writing everything else, I'm not saying I wrote every single lick. You know, it's more so like I would have to be way more effective in my collaboration with them than just getting a song and going, okay, I'm writing some lyrics. You know, where this album was the first time that literally I wasn't even present for the musical aspect. That was all the 4 other dudes, you know, hammering out, and all of them wrote songs for this album. It wasn't like it was one guy writing most of the music. All of them contributed, different songs. So
yeah, so there is a Face Down Records group, and that actually enters one of the. So I posted a question in there about what would you ask Leroy, and that actually answers one of the questions. Another one kind of goes into the lyrics. It kind of touches upon a lot of the spiritual elements on this particular record, and how it seems a little bit more intentionally spiritual. Did you go into this album wanting to do that intentionally, or is that just kind of a result of how things ended up?
I know I always have intention of where I want to go in an album. This album is literally the Bible, like from beginning to end. The songs themselves follow actual biblical stories within chronological order. Okay. So like, you know, the first song, The Watchers, that's, you know, I'm a huge Genesis 6 conspiracy giants, you know, the fall of the angels, you know, all that stuff. Like, I love that kind of stuff. I'm not saying I agree with every single theological thought that's out there with it, but I love researching it. I have this book that's like 1,000 pages that's called the Genesis 6 Conspiracy. You know, so, and it goes through bloodlines and all that kind of stuff. Like, I just love that kind of stuff. So with this album, I followed pinpointed, very well-known biblical stories and wrote my own, you know, kind of feel of what I felt those stories were telling me, or telling us, you know. So, like, if you look at The Watchers, that's literally lyrically the fall, you know, the first fall of the angels, you know, and it talks about their pride, and of course we know that is with Satan, you know, and then what they must have been thinking as they fell and hit the ground, you know, all that stuff. So, and then out of their dust we were formed, you know, out of that dust where the angels, like Satan hit the ground, took that dirt, and God made a being that was you know, because, sorry, I'm paraphrasing, but so Satan's job was to worship. God created him to worship. You know, he was supposed to worship God. That was what God created him for. And I believe that's where the animosity towards us come from, where, you know, he was obviously wanted to be like God. So when God cast him out of heaven and he hit the ground, the dirt that flew up, God then took the dirt, the crap that he fell in, and created us. So he was God created us out of the crap to worship him, to do a better job than he ever could. He created his most superior being, which is humanity, to worship him, not because he needed it, but because he could. And I think that in itself has pissed off Satan to the degree of where he's at, you know. But it's all about pride. That's what it all comes down to. So The Watchers is about that, you know. And then there's, do you have the track list in front of you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I have a couple tracks in front of me, so yeah. Let me see real quick. Yeah, so Yeah, so the next song is the title track, Void.
Yep, Void. So, Genesis 1:1 talks about the earth being without form and void. That is kind of the premise of the album itself, is the fact that, like the whole album, Void, out of nothing, something was created. And then Void is a little hint towards, or a nod towards, the gap theory. I'm not sure if you're familiar with gap theory.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where Void comes from, where it's just like this mystical time frame, that, and I'm not saying, again, that I totally agree with the gap theory. I just literally love researching that kind of stuff. I think it makes the Bible way more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to, like, when you start to tie things together and you kind of have a little bit more fun instead of just reading verses and kind of going, yeah, okay, I think that's what God meant. Okay, cool. Where, so yeah, Void, that's Genesis, based off Genesis 1:1. The earth was without form and void, kind of mystical, kind of like, this like atmosphere kind of part, song of the album, and then of course there's Cain and Abel, then I think that's the next song.
Blood of the Earth.
Cain and Abel. Yep, blood of the earth. That's when, Cain killed Abel, and then Sulfur and Salt. That's, that song was called Sodom and Gomorrah.
Okay.
And then I changed it to Sulfur and Salt. So that song is not about the whole gay and lesbian aspect. That I didn't touch on that. I just touched on what the people in a burning city would have felt like. Like what they would have been thinking as those walls were burning around them.
Wow.
That's the aspect that I wrote. It's like, we messed up. Literally, we're on fire. And the air is being sucked out, as the city burns, like that kind of aspect. So each song kind of deals with different aspects of the Bible, different stories. And then obviously I hit in there a few of the deadly sins, greed, wrath. And then I went, and then like the last two songs of the album, I dove into literally Revelation, word for word. I think it's Revelation 12, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, but I can't remember exactly. So I have it in front of me. But it talks about, the Lord coming down ruling with a rod, an iron rod. Literally I went like through Revelations and took out aspects and verses, that, and wrote them into my lyrics. So, I wanted to go literally beginning to end of so I went very spiritual, if you want to look at it in terms of, like, my lyrics usually deal with war and fighting and battle and getting through something. I just wanted to do something a little different, but at the same time, tying in the warrior aspect, but just like knowing these stories and seeing them for what they were.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I love the concept idea, because you don't see a whole lot of concept albums these days, and so that can be a little tricky to put everything together like a puzzle. But was that something that, when you were going into this album, was that something that you wanted to do, create like a concept like that, or like? Yeah,
I actually went into it like with that in mind. I've never done it before, all the album artwork is concept, and most of my lyrics in general with all the albums deal with that warrior aspect, that, we've gone through crap in our lives, but we rise above it kind of stuff. I've dealt with that with many, 7 albums, in different ways and different platforms and different styles. But for the most part, it's followed a really solid, I've always tried to stay to the root, of what I believe I've been through my experience. With this one, I'm on a different journey. I'm 4 kids, I'm a pastor at my church, and I felt like I could get a little more meat, but still put it in an elegant way where it makes fun, make it relatable to people, So, yeah, the concept of going through the Bible, you hear these stories your whole life, especially if you grew up Christian. So I had to think of it in a way that someone who maybe hasn't heard these stories would think of it. So I tried some aspects, like, our different, what's the word? like the person in the burning city of sulfur and salt, what they would have been thinking. They've been living in sin, and now the city's burning down. So it just different pieces like that. I tried to kind of put what they would have been thinking, or the watchers, what was going on in their head, to make decisions like that, to decide to try to become ruler. And then as they're flying through the air and hitting the ground, they're just like, whoop, we messed up. Or are they like, what is happening? It kind of puts it in a different perspective. You're like, what would they have been thinking?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard.
Because a third of the angels were cast out with them,
Yeah.
So it's like, what's that? What that 1/3 was like? Well, man, did we pick the wrong dude to follow?
Yeah, I've always wondered what they have been thinking, personally as well. You mentioned being a pastor, and I'm sure that's a unique perspective. Not a whole lot of metal frontmen or pastors, and a lot of people in metal bands, especially in the Christian genre, are often that they don't know how to characterize their band as ministry versus non-ministry. How has that been for you, as being a band that's entertaining, but at the same time has hopefully been able to touch people? Where do you see that for the War of Ages?
I speaking for myself, my whole life is ministry. Every single thing I do, everybody I come into contact with, my kids, my wife, my church, my fans, the person at the grocery store, our entire lives as a Christian, are supposed to be ministering to people. All I've ever wanted to do is love. When people ask me what my identity is, it's funny, close friends of mine will say, will not even know that I play in War of Ages. And then they'll sit there and say, you didn't tell me you were the singer of War of Ages, or this band that was actually, and they don't even listen to that kind of music sometimes. And they're just like, we didn't know that. We just heard you were in a band. And then we actually see that, no, he's in like a for real band, but you never say anything. Because that's not my identity. It never has been. My identity is in Christ. So I don't give me a microphone. Don't give me a microphone. I can scream on an album. I'll sing on an album. I won't write another album. I don't know what the Lord has for me. I never really cared. I'm blessed that I've had it. I'm blessed that I've been as influential as I've been, but my identity has always been in Christ. I've done some cool things, but I've never really thought like, oh, I need to be a better band dude because that's life. No, I need to be a better believer because that's what's staying with me. That's what I'm taking with me. Yeah. So I guess it's all perspective. I don't really put too much stock into, ministry into one certain thing, because my life is ministry. And anything I touch is ministry. So, yeah, I don't know if that fully answers your question, but I've never really thought of War of Ages as anything but ministry, because that's what it is. Anything I do is going to be ministry. So, and I'm held accountable for it just as much as I would be as a pastor at a church.
Yeah.
So...
Definitely, and just kind of getting into today, I know today's been a really busy thing for you, and I know, like you just said, War of Ages is just another arm of ministry, but you also have your job, you're a pastor, you're a father, you're a husband. How do you balance all of that so that one arm is not necessarily lacking the attention that it needs?
Well, I deal with things in three. So I have three things that I focus all of my time and my energy on. And then, the fourth thing, usually that alternates between everything except for so I'll say I have my family. That's one. That's a given. I have my church. That's two. I have my job, that I'm my business. That's three. And then I have War of Ages, and that's four. Okay, so those are the four things that I have in my life. I literally have time for three. The parent, the father, the family aspect, the husband, that never changes. That's number one. Obviously, that's the Lord gave me that first. That is my rock. That is my stone, and that's what I'm in charge of. That is my castle. Okay, and then after that, the other three alternate within the two spots. Sometimes church, I'm busy with that, and that is like taking priority. My business takes a lot of my priority. And then War of Ages comes in, and then sometimes I'm on tour, so War of Ages fits into where the church section is, and a little bit of where the business is, because if I'm gone, my wife has to pick up the slack at work. Okay, I'm still present, but not as much as I was when I was here. Okay, so it's a balance. It's a balancing game. It changes daily. A day like today. Today was a little bit of War of Ages, but what happened? I got called into work, so War of Ages got the back burner. It's just a balance, and I do the best I can. I try to be as honorable with every single thing I say yes to or no to. I try to balance everything properly. I'm not a rock star when it comes to balancing everything. Lord has given my family patience and my church patience and War of Ages patience. My business patience. So, I try to balance it as best I can, and I try to make the right decisions. But I do believe the Lord's leading me in that, and all of them are growing. War of Ages has always been what it's going to be. I think that if it grows anymore, it'd be awesome. But if it doesn't, I'm okay with that. My business is growing massively. My church is growing. It's doubled in size. So everything I'm involved in is growing. So I do believe that there is some favor in that. Not, again, that I put stock in any of it aside from my family. I think that my identity is in Christ. Everything else is just gravy, baby.
That's awesome. So, like, your identity is in Christ. I think that kind of leads me to a different topic. Your faith as a musician, there's a lot of people in your genre, especially over the last decade. It seems like a lot of people have lost their faith. Why do you think that is? I know every single situation is unique in and of itself, but why do you think that is, and why do you think you've kind of been able to avoid that?
Well, I think that is because what was Satan's number one charge? His charge was to play music and to worship the Lord. I think that we are we create the soundtrack to life. And I'm not saying we as in, War of Ages. I'm saying music is very important in culture. Music is very important in life. If the most powerful angel was created to do one thing, and that's create music to worship, he was the first and the most powerful. There's a reason for that. And he knows it. So, where do you attack? Attack the music. Attack the people leading the music. And sometimes we're easy pickings because of what? Pride. And hey, people have their own stories. They go through their own thing. The way that I've been able to stay out of it, and I'm not saying that I haven't gone through waves emotionally either. But what I am saying is I found my identity in Christ. It's not in the band. So if the band starts going a really crooked way, it's done. I'm not going to allow it to continue. It was meant for one thing, and that's to minister to people. That's to be used. If we make money at doing it, sick. Awesome. Cool. If we don't make a dime or we just break even, if we don't break even, I'm not going anymore. I'm not going on tour anymore. But if we at least break even, maybe come home with a little, awesome. And then at least my wife's got a smile on her face when we come home. But the other thing is, we didn't lose money. So my thought is the fact that, like, as long as we keep that mentality where our identity is not War of Ages, we'll be fine. I think other people, they've, at least the stories I've heard or, what bands have said, they've lost their way or they lost their faith or, whatever they've gone through. There's like that famous author. They wrote a bunch of Christian books. I can't remember his name exactly off the top of my head.
Joshua Harris.
But he, yes, He lost his way. I have his books.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, I've read them.
Yeah.
They definitely were a part of my changing my life around, especially in regards to dating. I didn't date my wife. We courted. So, he was influential in that area, and he definitely was influential to a lot of people. But none of us are impervious or not vulnerable to attacks. But as soon as we allow pride, as soon as we allow what we do and how we feel and it's all about me, how I feel about this, what I felt when somebody said this, how I should react to this. Yeah, as soon as you stick the I and the me and then this is us now, and as soon as you start talking like that, you're good luck.
Yeah, I mean it's probably easy to do when you're up in front of everybody, but I can see how pride would be a major aspect of that for sure.
Oh, for sure. And I think that in life, I don't know. In life, we get attacked, and we're going to have ups and downs. And if the one thing I used to say back in the day when there was the big rise of all these Christian bands, okay, the outspoken, spirit-filled, because I went through that as a kid too with the Zayo and Ex-Disciple X and all that stuff, where it was like these outspoken underground hardcore bands were all like, this is who we are, and boom, living sacrifice, everything. I went through that when that was going around back then, and same thing happened. Things fizzle, fire goes and explodes, and then it starts to die out. So when this was happening before, I said, the enemy's patient. Yeah, he's patient. He may not get you now, but he'll get you later. Because he'll wait. He's a lion that seeks to devour. He's hiding in the bush. He'll wait. He's patient.
Yeah.
So you may be like, he can't mess with me. I'm stronger than him. And then he's just sitting there going, I'll wait, or I'll attack your entire family till I get to you.
Yeah.
Even the Archangel Michael was like, I will not say anything against you, but the Lord rebuke you. Because even the Archangel Michael was like, he is way more powerful than I am. So I have to send in the big guns, the Lord.
That's the ace in the hole there. Yeah. So kind of wrapping things up. There's a few more questions from that Face Down Records group. There's questions about gingers. There's questions about boxers and brief. I'm going to pass over those and ask you there, especially since this is a Face Down Records group. There is a question about your loyalty to Face Down Records over the years. This is your 8th album on Face Down Records. Why has that relationship worked with you guys, and why has that continued to hopefully work in the future?
As of right now, it's been a good working relationship. And, it just depends on the season that we're in. I'm not saying that we would stay forever because I don't know what the future holds, but I would say as of right, they take care of us. We love Jason. We love the record label. We love what they've done. I'm not opposed to leaving if it made sense. And but that would be in no way against Face Down Records or any of the fans out there or anything like that. We are very happy with what they've done. We have no qualms against anything that they've done or how they put out a record. They've done a great job with us. So would we stay on for future? Sure. But if an opportunity arose, which they've come and gone. We've had other label offers. We've had stuff like that before, but nothing's made sense. At least where we were at the time, nothing made sense. So, I'm not against wherever, we feel led, or I feel that is we are being led towards or going, or what label to be on. I'm not against any, thought process in regards to that. whether it be a secular label or another Christian label. I don't know. You know, so it's a hard question because you just don't know where your mind frame is going to be at the time of looking for a label or signing for the next record. You know, it's always different. Do I think that that's like the end all be all and answer to everything? No. You know, I never thought Face Down was the answer to everything. So it just made sense. So we're like, okay, it makes sense. You know, would we go to Solid State? Maybe. Would we go to, you know, Good Fight or whatever, you know, Nuclear Blast? Sure. You know, it depends. If it made sense.
Yeah. So for what it's worth, though, Void is just a great release on a number of great releases from Face Down Records this year. So I'm so excited for this album, and thank you for your time. It means a lot to me. And I'm excited.
No problem.
I'm excited to see how this album touches lives.
Definitely, man. Thank you so much. I know I'm a talker, so hopefully you got it all.
I did. I appreciate it, buddy. That was our interview with War of Ages. I'd like to thank Leroy. That was a crazy day for him. He had some things going on, but we finally got it done. And I was excited to talk about their brand new album, Void. It's out now. And it's fantastic. So
I have been listening to it, and I've been trying to figure out what to compare it to.
Yeah, it's kind of metalcore.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's kind of relaxed. I don't know how to describe it, where it's got intensity. It's got everything that you want in metal.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's something that I could like sit back to at night, just chill and relax, and kind of. It's not a slow jam by any means, but it's great.
Yeah, slow jam. There's some killer parts where they just shred the guitars, and yeah, I mean there's a lot of good stuff, and Face Down Records hits it out of the park once again.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. Like I said, you gave me a little bit of heads up about this, but it just came out, so I've got probably 3 or 4 full listens under my belt. I haven't picked a favorite song off the album yet. But it is something that, like I said, it's been on in the background. It's just, I don't know, it's really good.
It is, and I can't say that that's always my favorite genre, but it's something that I actually enjoyed. So
even if you don't like metal, this is one. I know I say this all the time, but this is one that you could get into just because. Like I said, I don't know how to describe it. If you listen to it, it's just they have some, like, our mom loves the choruses because she says she can understand the choruses in metal when they sing. They have a lot of that. They have a lot of guitar shredding. Like I'm terrible at describing music because I can't actually play it. But give this one a listen. It's
definitely worth your time. So yeah, Relient K. They are putting out a vinyl, and we kind of teased this earlier. We're going to be giving our picks for songs to put on this vinyl, and I have actually voted, so these are locked in.
I need to vote, and you said there's 12.
There are 12,
and I've narrowed it down to 19, and I might be crossing some off.
Okay. Well, okay, so I'm going to give 3 honorable mentions at the very beginning.
Okay.
That didn't quite make the list. They're worthy of mention, but there's reasons why I left them off. There's a song called The Lining is Silver.
Yes.
It's on the Bird and Bee sides.
I didn't even put that one on. Oh, dang it.
I really like it, but didn't quite make it.
All right.
There's a song called I Celebrate the Day.
Yes, that's on my honorable mentions list as well.
Okay. It's on an album. It was on a compilation, and then later it was on their album, Let It Snow, Baby, Let It Snow. I mean, it's kind of one of those seasonal things, so I'd just kind of honorable mention.
Great Christmas song, though.
Then there is like there's a 2-song thing called Which to Bury, Us or the Hatchet, and then Let It All Out that kind of goes together, but it's actually 2 songs. So instead of picking both, I just kind of put them on my honorable mention.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
There's Judah making picks in the background.
Yes. So that takes me to my top 12.
Okay.
And coming in at number 12 is a song called Softer to Me off the Relient K self-titled album.
I completely agree. And this was my number 1 Relient K song for many, many years.
It's really good. I love that guitar riff.
It was definitely until I think I Am Understood came out. This was my favorite song. And then Deathbed also.
Yeah. Well, we're looking ahead here.
I'm sorry. I'm excited.
So do you have are you
I'm going to give some honorable mentions.
Okay.
First, In Love with the 80s.
Okay.
Is not going to make my list, but
It's a good song.
It's a great song. Let's see. Like I said, I've got a few more to cross out here. I Need You. That's a great song.
Okay.
I'm going to cross it off my list here. It takes me down to 17. Oh, gosh. Hello,
Yes.
Hello McFly.
Okay.
I hate to do it. Do it, but I'm going to do it.
Self-titled.
All right. And then I'll throw out some more honorable mentions as we go. Like I said, I've got this list here. I'm crossing them off. All right. So I'm going to say I didn't put these in order. I just kind of read through chronologically and pulled things off my list. So I don't have from 12 to 1 quite like you. But my first one that I'm going to read is Softer to Me, just because that's off their first album and outstanding. Like this song is why I'm a Relient K fan. Like this song was the first one that like made my head perk up and wow, pretty good.
Number 11 for me was a song off the Anatomy of Tongue-in-Cheek album. It's called Sadie Hawkins Dance.
That is also on my list, and it's right on the verge of being crossed off, but it's not going to get crossed off. But that is one below because I have Pressing On my list next.
That didn't make my list, so there you go.
Pressing On, and then I had Sadie Hawkins Dance in chronological order.
Okay. Number 10, I had a song off Forget and Not Slow Down. It's the only song off that album that makes my list. It's a song called Sahara.
That did not make my list.
I think it's one of the most underrated Relient K songs.
And I do love that song. Gosh, this is a hard one.
Yeah.
So we talked about Sadie Hawkins Dance. The next one on here that I have is Down in Flames. I'm gonna put that in the honorable mention.
All right.
And so that makes my next song Failure to Excommunicate.
Nice.
That's such a good song.
Good song. Good pick.
Yes.
Number 9 for me is a song that you mentioned on your honorable mentions list. It's a song called I Need You off 5 Score and 7 Years Ago.
That's a great song.
It is.
It's straight to the point. Sometimes they beat around the bush a little bit with some of their analogies and lyrics and words and all that fun stuff, but no, that one's pretty straight to the point.
Yes.
Next on my list. Oh gosh. All right, so I have a couple here that are on the verge. How many do I have? Holy head count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I need to get rid of 3 songs.
Yeah.
Okay, so unfortunately, Chapstick, Chap Lips, and Things Like Chemistry is going to be one of those that goes in the honorable mention pile, right next to Mood Rings, which is also going in the honorable mention pile, which leaves Forward Motion in my list.
All right.
And it's Forward Motion. I don't know how to describe it because this is me being bad with music again, but it's a song that came out when I was in high school.
Okay.
And it just made sense.
Gotcha.
Relient K is really good at that. I think that's why a lot of people that are fans of Relient K are still fans of Relient K, and they'll go back and listen to those things because, like a song like Forward Motion, Forward Motion is harder than it sounds. It just that's it, putting one foot in front of the other. And I mean, if you've ever listened to this show, you know how big of an advocate for mental health that I am.
Yeah.
And this song just kind of encapsulates that, and it's a great song.
Number 8 is a song off their most recent release called Air for Free. It's a song called Local Construction. Really good song.
That is on my list as well. Maybe further down, but that is also on my list. Next on my list, I mentioned it before, it is I Am Understood with a question mark at the end.
Yes.
This is another perfect example of that time in your life when you're trying to figure things out and trying to make sense of the world. And then there's this thing that you're not quite sure that you believe in just because your parents told you that you need to believe in it when you're growing up.
Right.
And you're just trying to cope with that. And I don't know, it was just this weird fact of no one understands me, nothing understands me. But wait, am I understood? And so this is a really cool song for me.
Yeah, actually, number 7 for me is also I Am Understood. So
How'd that work out? Okay.
So now you have to make another pick.
Well, shoot. Hold on. I think I have to cross one more off my list. Yes, I have to cross one more off my list. But it's not going to be Jefferson Airplane.
Okay.
I listened to Jefferson Airplane on repeat, and I don't know why. I mean, this is not a song that people are going to flock to the gates for.
Right.
But I did indeed play this song very often, and the song after it as well. That Pepperoni. It was all just a dream. It was that was this song, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Their rap song. But yeah, Jefferson Airplane, catchy tune.
Number 6 for me is another song off 5 Score and 7 Years. It's a song called Devastation and Reform.
I almost put that on my list, and I guess it falls under honorable mentions for me. I think the reason I didn't put it on the list is because of how often I actually did hear it, if that makes sense. It was one of their more played songs. So maybe it got a little stale for me, but that's one of those songs where you see it live and you're like,
oh yeah,
this hits hard. Like, it's surprisingly like a hard rock song, and Relient K can bring it when they want to. Okay. Next song, High of 75.
Oh, okay.
Which, I don't know, it's just
that almost made my list, but it didn't.
I just, sometimes you're just down in the dumps, and then normally you listen to sad music when you're sad, but I listen to Sunny with a High of 75 very often. So I'll tell a little side story. I was actually in a Human music video for this song. I wore my Captain Crunch t-shirt, and I was battling with a whole bunch of other people that were just sad and getting rained on and all this stuff, and I came in with an umbrella and beat up all the clouds and all the rain.
Wow.
And, yeah. No, it was a good memory. I think that's why this made my list.
That's really interesting. Number 5 for me, you mentioned it before, I think you did. It's a song called Failure to Excommunicate off Anatomy of Tongue in Cheek.
This might be one of my top 3.
Yeah. Another underrated song.
Yes. Okay, so I have to get one more off of here.
Okay.
I have 5 left.
We only need 4 more.
Okay, so...
Well, after this one, there's 5 left.
I know. Well, there's 5 left?
Yeah, because I just made pick number 5. This was number 5.
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to go with Local Construction.
Okay. Nice. Okay, number 4 for me is another song off 5 Score and 7 Years. It's called Must Have Done Something Right.
Okay, so
really love that song.
That line where they say we could get jerseys because we make a good team, but yours would look better than mine because you're out of my league. I'm not going to pretend like I didn't try that on every middle school girl as a pickup line, but it didn't quite work out because I don't really have any game. But no, that song is just, I don't know, it's a cool song about just having that perfect person.
Yeah. Number 3 is a song that I know that you're going to mention soon. It's also off 5 Score and 7 Years. It's called Deathbed.
Yes, I am going to mention that soon because it is. We'll get into it later. Yeah. But so I need to cross. It's down to I have Forgiven and I Don't Need a Soul.
Oh, okay.
One of these is going in the honorable mention time slot here.
Okay.
It's gonna be Forgiven.
Okay.
I love that song, but I don't know. I Don't Need a Soul is just another one of those songs.
Song.
Another one of those songs.
Okay. Number 2 for me is off the album. These next 2, my last 2 are actually on the Okay. My top 2, anyway. Who I Am, Hates Who I've Been.
That is a song that didn't make my list. And
I'm surprised.
It's not a song that I don't like. It's just, what do I pick? Yeah. How do I pick?
Right.
What am I supposed to do? And that song just didn't make it for me. But a song that did make it for me, Air for Free. And this is, again, talking about times in your life when songs just make sense to you. And, I don't know, Local Construction and Air for Free and just this whole album just kind of hit the spot.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, especially Local Construction. Fix the car, fix the house.
Yeah.
It's never done. It's just, no, it just makes sense. And Matt Thiessen has a way of putting that into words.
Yes, he's really good with that. And another one, which is my top pick, it's also off and it's a song called Be My Escape.
That one didn't make my list.
Wow.
And it's, again, not because I dislike it. It's just because, I don't know, I tend to like the popular songs off of albums.
Yeah.
But they're not normally my favorite song off the album. And that's just one of those cases where the rest of that album is so good. I mean, I picked a few off that album to be on here, but Be My Escape wasn't one of them. So this takes it to my number 1, doesn't it?
Yep.
And that is Deathbed. Deathbed. Oh, Judah's show went off.
Oh, too bad.
Yeah. Well, let's say, okay, Deathbed. It's a long song. It's a story. And it's just about this guy going through, well, he's at the end of his life on his deathbed, and he's going back and reflecting through his life that wasn't always that great, to be honest. And I don't know, it's an amazing story, and one of those songs where I saw it live, and I saw John Foreman perform it live with them.
Yeah, that was incredible.
I saw it in Pittsburgh. I saw them perform it live at Creation.
Yep.
And it was more interesting at Creation, even though I saw John Foreman in Pittsburgh sing it with them. Everybody there was there to see Relient K, and they knew that song. When we were there at Creation, of course, it's a music festival. Not everybody's going to know that song. They might know Relient K's hits, like Be My Escape or something like that. They don't know Deathbed. And I just remember a moment during that concert where I looked around and there was nothing moving. Everyone was stopped. Everyone was just looking at the stage, kind of on the edge of their seat, like, what's going to happen in this story? It's a, 12, 13-minute long song?
Yep.
And so just the story sucks you right in. And that was just a really cool moment for me where I looked around. Of course, I'm having a blast with this song. And I know people don't know every word to this song. I know our patron Maria does. This is her favorite Relient K song. But just, I don't know, it was just a cool moment. You could have heard a pin drop.
It's a song that means a lot to people for different reasons, and I can see why it's your number one. I've contemplated putting it as my number one, but it was my number 3, and not quite, but still high on my list. Yep, so that's our list. You can make your own list by
vote.
Going to ReliantK.com. I think it's going to be open until maybe October, middle of October, so go check that out. And yeah, that we're going to head off into the sunset. If you want to hear more, check out our Patreon page. Bonus episode, we're going to be talking more about our throwback album of the week, which is The End Is Not the End by House of Heroes. I can't wait to talk about that.
Yes.
But we are on Twitter, DC Talk Act 2, Instagram, DC Talk Podcast. We're on Facebook, the Decent Christian Talk Podcast page, and the discussion page. We are also on the internet, decentchristiantalk.com. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anything you listen to, we're on there. Give us a nice review. Share us with a friend if you like War of Ages and you know people that like that kind of music. Share it with a friend. We absolutely love when you do that.
Or if you have someone that absolutely loves Relient K, tell them to listen to this and then let us know where we're wrong, because I'm sure that you're going to have a different opinion than us. But I mean, this is my opinion that makes you wrong.
I appreciate you guys listening, but we will catch you next time.
Don't forget to tip your waiters and waitresses. Thanks.
Thanks.
Don't forget to tip your waiters and waitresses. Thanks.